Fresh off a beach holiday, still tasting mojitos in my dreams, I got that phone call. Fancy driving Aston Martin's brand new 850,000 pounds, 1,100 horsepower hypercar tomorrow. Most sensible people would fake food poisoning. I, however, said yes, then immediately wondered if I'd lost the plot. As if piloting a carbon fiber missile wasn't terrifying enough, I woke to rain hammering the windows. Britain had been parched for months, yet the weather gods picked this day to throw a tantrum. Thankfully, by the time I reached Silverstone Stowe Circuit, the track was dry. My palms, however, were not, and then I saw it, the Valhalla, menacing in camouflage, rear wing arched like a cobra sizing me up. This wasn't just a car, it was an apex predator, and I was about to climb inside its mouth. A different beast from the Valkyrie. At first glance, it is tempting to assume the Valhalla is simply the little brother of the outrageous Valkyrie. Both are mid-engined, both look like science projects given wheels, and both use air to their advantage in ways that would make an aerospace engineer nod approvingly. But in truth, they are very different beasts. Aston Martin's chief engineer, Andrew Kay, told me as much during the walk around. The Valkyrie, he explained, is a car designed with singular focus on the track, a road car only in the loosest possible sense. The Valhalla, on the other hand, is supposed to be more usable, more comfortable, and dare he say it, more luxurious. I almost laughed out loud when he said that, because at that very moment I was staring into a cockpit that looked more suited to a Le Mans prototype than a gentleman's Grand Tourer. Carbon fiber was everywhere, the sills were the size of cliffs, and the seats appeared to be designed by someone with an intense dislike of soft tissue. Yet compared to the Valkyrie's extreme setup, it is true that the Valhalla has softened slightly around the edges. The driving position is still reclined and racy, but it offers enough room that you don't feel like a sardine in a carbon fiber tin. There's even an infotainment screen, which in a car like this counts as luxury. The double bubble roof means you can wear a helmet without knocking your head on the ceiling, and yes, there are proper seat belts that don't require a degree in harness management. Luxury is relative, I suppose. Aerodynamics that bend the air to their will. If the interior feels like it belongs in a racing car, the exterior makes no attempt to hide its intentions either. The Valhalla's aerodynamics are an essay in applied physics. It generates around 600 kilograms of downforce consistently between 149 miles per hour and its 217 mile per hour top speed, which is quite enough to plaster your insides against your ribcage. The front end hides a hydraulically operated wing just ahead of the axle, invisible to the naked eye, but crucial in maintaining stability. At the back, a very obvious and very dramatic rear wing takes on multiple personalities depending on what you ask of it. It can flatten out in drag reduction mode to boost straight line speed, tilt aggressively for maximum grip, or stand upright to act as a giant air brake. The rest of the bodywork is littered with veins and channels that keep air flowing exactly where Aston wants it. It guides cooling air into the radiators, keeps the boundary layer attached to the doors, and directs flow to the rear diffuser. A snorkel on the roof completes the look, feeding air to the turbos and intercoolers. It all looks aggressive and dramatic, but everything you see has a purpose. This isn't just design for show, it's science dressed up as sculpture. AMG heart, Aston attitude. At the core sits a 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8 from AMG, not the lazy cross plane, but the furious flat plane from the GT Black Series. Aston naturally couldn't leave it alone. New pistons, hotter cams, bigger turbos, resulting in 828 horsepower from the V8 alone. For most cars, that's plenty. The Valhalla is not most cars. 3 electric motors join the party, one on the gearbox, which even handles reverse since the box doesn't bother with a reverse gear, and 2 up front for AWD. Together, they deliver a ridiculous 1,079 horsepower and 811 pound-foot, numbers so wild they look like typos. Even the exhaust has split personalities, whisper-quiet periscope pipes at low throttle, then a full-on roar from the diffuser exits when you floor it. Opt for the titanium system and you'll save 2.5 kilograms, plus terrify wildlife with extra flair. Race-bred bones. Beneath its skin, the Valhalla is every bit as sophisticated as its headline number suggests. The carbon fiber tub was developed with input from Aston Martin's Formula 1 team, who know a thing or two about squeezing maximum strength from minimal weight. The body panels are carbon fiber too, though the subframes are aluminium to balance rigidity with repairability. At the front, double wishbone suspension with pushrod operated dampers keeps the nose planted while giving the driver a clear view over the bonnet. At the rear, a 5 5-link setup with adaptive Bilstein dampers manages the chaos. Rubber bushings rather than rose joints serve as a nod to road-going comfort. And yes, there's even a hydraulic nose lift system for tackling speed bumps. Nothing screams practicality like a hypercar that can politely tiptoe over a humpback bridge on its way to Harrods. The driving experience? First contact. Aston eased me in with a 650 horsepower Vantage for sighting laps. A warm-up that says everything about the Valhalla's firepower. Climbing into the Valhalla feels more like boarding a cockpit than a car. Reclined seat, raised pedals, square wheel, the works. Fire it up, slot first, and in race mode, which oddly gives less power than Sport Plus to conserve the battery. It still launches down Stowe's back straight so violently my brain lagged behind the scenery. And yet, the surprise wasn't the speed, it was the confidence. The Valhalla felt planted, predictable, even friendly. I'd braced for a fight. Instead, it welcomed me in and dared me to push harder, lap after lap. Steering, brakes, and grip. The steering is sublime, light and relaxed off-center, then sharpening as if the car is magnetically drawn to the apex. The Brembo carbon ceramics feel soft at first, but lean harder, and they deliver deceleration fierce enough to stop time itself. Grip, astonishing. Turn-in is eager yet calm. Understeer arrives gently instead of snapping, and a lift or brush of the brakes tucks the nose back in perfectly. Power out and the car rotates with balance. The rear end chatting away like an old friend. Even with traction turned down, slides are smooth, predictable, and easy to catch. Within minutes, the Valhalla earns your trust and keeps it. Sport, Plus, and the numbers game. Curiosity won, and I flicked into Sport Plus. Instantly, the Valhalla went from fast to vision blurring. One glance at the speedo showed 150 miles per hour on a straight most cars barely hit second gear. And yet, it didn't feel as feral as Lamborghini's new Temerario. The Aston delivers its power with such smoothness that the violence almost feels civilized. The real magic? Despite 1,000+ horsepower, it never felt scary, just friendly, like a rocket ship that actually wants you to enjoy the ride. The value question. So is it worth 850,000 pounds? On paper, of course not. No car is worth that much money, at least not in rational terms. But cars like the Valhalla aren't about rationality. They are about emotion, about engineering ambition, and about the thrill of experiencing something utterly extraordinary. For me, the real value lies not in the top speed or the power figure, but in the way the Valhalla makes you feel behind the wheel. It takes a driver from nervous apprehension to giddy joy in the space of half a dozen laps. It bonds with you, communicates with you, and ultimately allows you to play with it as though it were a giant go-kart with wings. And that, to me, is the highest praise any driver can give. And that just about wraps up our deep dive into the Aston Martin Valhalla. If you enjoyed this review and want to see more hypercar madness, make sure you hit that like, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.